Hello, my name is Emily, and today I'm going to be talking about the Beatles, and specifically the White Album. The White Album was released in 1968, and it was the ninth album made by the Beatles. The White Album doesn't actually have an original title, but it's called the White Album because of its white cover. In the middle of the album, there's a list of each song, and there's also 4 pictures of each of the group members. But there's no group picture. And afterwards, there's been some speculations too whether the 4 individual pictures insinuated that there was some problems in the group at the time of the release. So what was actually happening in the band? Actually, there was some trouble in the band at the time of the release, and Ringo Starr, he left in the middle of the recording because he felt excluded from the group and he felt that he wasn't playing very well at the time. I actually have a quote from Ringo Starr from an interview where he says that I left because I felt 2 things. I felt I wasn't playing great, and I also felt that the other 3 were really happy and I was an outsider. So Ringo packed his bag and he went to Sardinia with his kids, but he actually came back a few days later. But then, there was still tension and awkwardness in the group, so he actually left again, where he stayed for 2 weeks. But then he found out that he wasn't feeling alone and he wasn't the only one. Actually, each of the group members, they felt excluded, and he received a telegram from the rest of the band, who was still recording the album, saying that they loved him and that he was the best and that they wanted him to come back. So he came back once more, and the group, they finished the album. But what was happening in 1968? In America, there was a lot of fighting for civil rights. There was the Poor People's March, where people were fighting and protesting to try to make human and economic and equal rights for people with a diverse background. In 1968, Martin Luther King died. Martin Luther King was the leader of the Negro Civil Rights Movement, and he's especially known for his speech, I Have a Dream, but he died in 1968. In England, there was the student movement, where in the Western world there were actually over 2,000 universities rebelling and protesting against the old professors' ways of teaching. So, 1968 was a very rebellious year where a lot of fighting and rebellion happened throughout the world. Now I'm going to move on to an analysis of the song Blackbird from the White Album. I'm going to be talking about what the song's about, the lyrical eye, the form, language, style, imagery, mood, and theme. So what's the song about? In general, the song is about a blackbird that's singing in the dead of night. The blackbird is told to use its broken wings and learn to fly. The lyrical eye is not exactly visible in the poem. It's not a specific person because we're not given a name, but it's still there. The lyrical eye really cares for the blackbird, and it's speaking directly to the blackbird, where it tells it to use its broken wings, learn to fly, and arise because it's its time. The form of the song. The form of the song is free verse. The first 2 stanzas each have 4 lines, the next 2 each have 2 lines, and the last stanza, the 5th stanza, has 6 lines. The last stanza is the first stanza repeated, where the last line in the first stanza is repeated 2 more times. There's free rhythm in the song. It has a natural, good flow, but it's not a specific rhythm, and there are no rhymes. The language. The lyrical eye uses a lot of adjectives such as broken wings, sunken eyes, dead of night, and this really empathizes that the blackbird is broken, weak, and all alone. Dead of night really empathizes the fact that this blackbird is alone. There are no other animals, there are no humans, it's singing in dead of night, so it's completely and utterly alone. and the broken wings really insinuate that the blackbird is weak and alone and broken. So the style. The lyrical eye repeats 2 lines throughout the song, and those 2 lines are "You were only waiting for this moment to arise" and "Blackbird singing in the dead of night." Again, this really emphasizes the fact that the blackbird is alone, it's singing in the dead of night, so it's not just sitting there, it's singing, it's trying to get better and to get strong. And "you were only waiting for this moment to arise" really tells us, as listeners, that it's time. The blackbird is not weak anymore, or it's not, at least not that weak that it can't sing. So it's actually getting better and stronger. Imagery. The blackbird is a symbol for black people. In 1968, there was a lot of fighting in America for black people's rights. So therefore, the black people symbolizes the black people. The mood. The lyric is very, very sad, but when you listen to the song, the music is actually quite cheerful. Therefore, I think that the black people should use this song as a motivation to really fight for their rights and really use this as a motivation to stand up for themselves. The theme. The theme of the song is the civil rights movement. Paul McCartney actually told the public why he wrote the song, and he says, "I wrote it in the 60s when the civil rights movement was at its height. I like to think of a blackbird as being a kind of symbol for a black woman." So again, we're told that the blackbird is a symbol for black people, especially black women. So I think the lyrical eye is trying to tell the black people to stand up for themselves and fight for their rights, and they're trying to tell the white people, so the rest of the population, to back off and really let everyone be equal, because everyone is equal. So to try and make sure that the black people get equal rights. That was all I had for you today. Thank you for listening.